The final score, Leyton Orient 0, Wrexham 0. And a pleasing result, I think. Although Orient's position in the table isn't very exciting, they've hit some really good form after a disastrous start to the season. And yeah, I think this is a game that, admittedly, we had to fight hard to control in the first half, but in the second half we could easily have gone on and won it. Mia Roberts in commentary quite rightly pointed out that what Orient did to us in the first half was what they did to Stockport County a fortnight ago, a week ago, and they beat them 4-1 at Edgeley Park. So this is a side that can really bombard you. They started very fast, and we had to work hard and defend in order to earn our right to play in the second half, essentially. My argument would be that although we were under a lot of pressure, and it wasn't, sort of a good fluent performance, we weren't able to get at them all that much in the first half. It was still a good away first half because apart from one remarkable let-off that we had, they didn't really create chances as such, or if they did, they didn't look too convincing. Kelman up front for them looked like a really good hard-working centre-forward. He wasn't quite big enough to challenge O'Connell in the aerial battles, though, and although he had a couple of nice touches, which we'll come to later, he wasn't the greatest of finishers, and so when he got the first chance of the match after Galbraith was able to muscle Cannon away and feed him in down the right channel, he hit the shot from the edge of the box and put it wide, one-on-one with the Concord, who did come out of the line quickly to A, narrow the angle, B, intimidate him. But they continued to play well. Their box midfield was nice and just created little overloads in attacking areas, had good rotation around their positions, and we had to dig in. Although, like I said, despite that, we didn't concede too many chances, except for a really harum-scarum spell just around the 20th minute mark when Orient should have scored, to be honest. 19th minute, it all sparked off with an absolutely unbelievable save by Arthur Okonkwo. James sweeping in a corner to the near post, Clare flicking it on into the goal mouth at the far post. Donnelly and Cooper were both coming in on it in front of, 2/3 of an open goal. Okonkwo had been across near his near post, obviously, for the corner. You can't quite make out from the replays exactly who made contact on it. But I think it might have been Cooper coming in behind Donnelly. But it was a very poor finish because they managed to steer it back towards Okonkwo rather than just directly in front of whoever it was who hit it into the net. That gave Okonkwo the chance, and he did brilliantly. He's having to turn and change direction and really fast hands to get across and get a block on it. And Wrexham got it clear. But Orient, stirred by that, had by far their most threatening spell of the match, where our defence wasn't looking quite so solid. Free kick 30 yards out for James, who, it looked like quite a long way out. He struck it really well and it just skimmed the left post. To be fair, Okonkwo, I think, had it covered. He got across very quickly to it. It was keeper's side. So I don't think it resulted in the goal. But nonetheless, they were starting to genuinely threaten. After the half-hour mark, though, Wrexham had our best attack so far. And there was a very nice piece of play that was nearly rewarded. Cleworth standing up a diagonal for McLean. McLean definitely had the beating of James in the air. James looked like a really talented player, right wing back, but a bit more comfortable. I got the impression the first half, at least, with going forwards than with the robust side of defending. In the second half, when he had to slot in at centre-back, maybe I was being a bit harsh, but Cleworth had played the diagonal to McLean against James about a minute earlier, and McLean won it comfortably. So he did it again, and this time the ball dropped down for Lee, who pinged the ball into the feet of Palmer on the edge of the area. He laid it back to Lee nicely, and Lee punched it straight out to the right of Barnett for the first time. Wrexham stretching Orient's defence. Barnett fed in a great cross into the goal mouth. Lee had continued his run and just couldn't meet it in the 6-yard box, just out of his reach, and Wrexham were frustrated. The final chance of the half came to Wrexham as well, and it would have been a bizarre goal, but it was the closest anyone came to a goal, really. O'Connor, who we all know is really perfecting these left-footed corners from the right-hand side, sweeping it under the bar. The goalkeeper coming and misjudging his punch completely onto his own post. Got to be honest, from where we were in the press box, we didn't even realise that. But yeah, he got up in a crowd, mistimed a punch, and it went backwards, hit the post, and bounced out. A Mayebi at Stockport moment, except it didn't go in. So 0-0 at the break, and let's say Stockport. Orient's intensity, as at Stockport, was really high. Their pressing was excellent. We've seen a few times, haven't we, over the last year or so, Wrexham struggling a bit when there's a press, really high, aggressive press on us as we try to pass our way out from the back. But the intensity did ebb a little. I guess that's the thing you've got to look for in these sorts of games against opposition like that. They were well organised and energetic, but would they be able to keep that going for 90 minutes? And they just started to ease off a bit. And in the second half, well, the first 30 odd seconds of the second half, minutes of the second half were rather fairly even. And then Wrexham finished very strongly, as I think a combination of losing players to injury and having to make substitutions they didn't want to make, and tiredness just maybe went in. Remember, they played a midweek game as well, whereas we didn't. So we had a dangerous moment right at the start of the half. Dobson, uncharacteristically, lost the ball in a very dangerous area of his own half. 4 Orient players around him. He tried to be calm and play his way out, and he couldn't. The ball fell to Kelman. A 2-on-1 break for Orient, and it was a bizarre conclusion to this little incident. He just fell over. It didn't seem to be any reason why he fell over. He just fell over in this wonderful position, and Wrexham were off the hook. Goodness me. Then we went up the other end, and Lee made an excellent tackle on Omar Beckles as he tried to drive forwards. The ball fell to Jack Marriott, selected ahead of Paul Mullin, and he decided, I think it was good instincts, that an early snapshot from 25 yards would maybe catch the keeper out. And he span and hit it with power, but he didn't get the direction right. He put it straight down the throat of the goalie, and it was a comfortable save. Then a really intelligent, patient move. Orient were looking to do that. Once Wrexham dropped off into that mid-block, which has been working so well for us this season, Orient were looking to be patient, but we'd often forced that impatient final ball before it needed to. This, for me, was the one time when Orient really stuck at their guns, kept moving us around for a long time in possession, and then worked the gap. And it was a decent opportunity for Galbraith. He fed the ball into the feet of Kelman, who helped it on. Galbraith made a run around him and ran onto it on the right channel. He's coming in from the left, and he had a good sight of goal. The angle wasn't getting any better, though, as he was carrying it, and he drove it into the side netting. Wrexham made changes. Cannon, like I say, coming back from injury, maybe did another 90 minutes in him. He was replaced by George Evans in the 56th minute. 9 minutes later, the customary alteration in attack, Marriott and Fletcher coming off, Mullin and Palmer coming on. And although soon after that there was a good opportunity for Orient, those substitutions, I think, just turned it around. The 2 strikers were sharp and fresh. Orient had to change the defence because of injury. They'd matched us up with 3 at the back, and that had worked well in the first half, but then, they'd lost a defender to injury, and everything had to be changed around, and I think that didn't help them much. And Wrexham started to get on top. There was that opportunity, mind, which was just after the substitutions. Good pressure by Orient. Simpson, who coming forwards from the left centre-back position, was really good carrying it forwards. Won the ball in the Wrexham half. Fed Kelman, who turned and hit it, but put it just wide of the left post. But then it was Wrexham coming back at them. A really good move. Saw Fletcher feed McLean. He drove in an early cross on the left-hand side, and Mullin back to goal. Brilliantly turned Simpson in the penalty area. 6 yards out. It looked like he was bound to score. It was a lovely piece of skill. But out of nowhere, Curry came lunging in, the fullback, to slide in and deny him. And then in the 77th minute, Wrexham's big opportunity, an absolutely insane scramble. How it didn't go in, well, let's try and explain, but I don't know. Will I be able to do it? Mullin, outside the box, right-hand side, feeds Barnett. Barnett punches in another really testing cross, driven into the 6-yard box. It's close to goal, but struck well enough for the keeper not to be able to do much about it. Omar Beckles does brilliantly to get goal side of Fletcher and prevent him from getting a tap in, but he can't get it clear because he's in such an awkward position, facing his goal about 3 yards out, and Fletcher manages to get it, hits a close-range shot. It hits the goalkeeper in the face, and ricochets back out. Attempted clearance flies across the face of the open goal. Mullins followed his run into the box. He's in front of a totally open goal, but it really has been rifled at him. He has no time to react. It hits him. It could have gone anywhere. It went just wide. Absolutely crazy. And that actually was the end of the goalmouth incident, although Wrexham kept probing and getting into really good positions, but weren't able to get that final ball off. And then 2 minutes from the end, oh dear me, It's the thing you just don't want to see. Cleworth went up for a header, landed on his ankle heavily, and was clearly in a lot of pain. He had to be helped off the pitch. And yeah, well, let's hope that's not too serious after Cleworth had made such a brilliant impact on us this season. Dan Scarr came on to make his belated league debut and looked good, won a couple of good headers, and the game ended with our 5th clean sheet in 8 league games. That's not bad, is it? Looking at the individual performances, well, Okonkwo, yeah, made that magnificent save. It was top draw, really, really was, and controlled his area well. Across the back, I made Cleworth man of the match. He was again just solid, carried the ball well. Those diagonals to McLean, you felt like he'd sort of worked that out for himself. He was very, very good, and like I said, we wish him well. Central defence again, O'Connell physically dominated Kelman and had an imposing game. He's so good in that area at the edge of the 6-yard box to the penalty spot, that sort of square. He just wins crosses when they come in. Very impressive. And O'Connor as well had a solid game at the back. So the back three was rock solid. McLean had a good game, I thought. He got a few crosses in. He won a lot of tackles as well. So McLean, yeah, lots of credit to him. Barnett was not quite as busy, but again was sound defensively and fizzed 2 fantastic balls in that just didn't quite lead to a goal. In the middle of midfield, well, Cannon, I guess I think he's not quite 100% yet. He made some good challenges, good energy as ever. But yeah, I think they needed a little bit of a break. In the middle, Dobson was not quite himself, but then he set such amazing high standards that a couple of passes going astray from him really stand out, don't they? And Lee, again, energy and creativity, and in the latter stages, he just couldn't stop running at defenders, trying to make things happen. Up front, I thought Palmer won a lot of headers, wasn't able to get into dangerous positions, but, you know, classic target man play, won a lot of headers, did a lot of nice little layoffs, and Marriott, again, eager and enthusiastic, but the problem for him, of course, is that really he was on the pitch in the spell where Wrexham weren't on top of the game. And that's then reflected by the fact that the substitutions, you look at their performances, Fletcher and Mullin come on and they feel like they transformed it because Marriott and Palmer have worn down the defenders, and then Fletcher dropping off and getting little turns in and winning headers, and Mullin buzzing around intelligently could make a difference. George Evans was very impressive. He played one magnificent pass near the end of the game. It was so unlucky. He punched it from about 40 yards out, but Dobson potentially one-on-one with the keeper. It was a difficult first touch to take, but Dobson's the guy who'd want to take that touch, but he actually got away from it. That was a shame, but it was a hell of a ball by Evans. He looked really good. And like I said, Scarr did a solid job. So a good away clean sheet, a good away point. The game's coming thick and fast. Another trip down to the southeast straight away against another team that, frankly, doesn't score much, but doesn't concede much either. A couple of battles in the southeast for us to come through before we can get back to the racecourse, but it's good for me that we are bouncing back from the Birmingham game with a couple of a win and a draw. You just have to start getting that unbeaten run going again after you suffered a loss. That's what we've just done, and I'll have to do the same at Tuesday, and then at the racecourse keep winning there. A good away point, I would say. With the final score of Leyton Orient 0, Wrexham 0, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.